We don't, I think whatever happens there is going to be, telling about the direction of the country.
Can you help me understand, Lisa, given the amount of time that you have spent in that courtroom, how it is that people get into that courtroom, how they get seated, and what it tells you that he has about a dozen folks?
I am so glad that you asked me this question, because today on the record from the DA's office, they basically said, hey, you had a bunch of surrogates for the former president who came in at an awkward moment. They were basically disruptive of the cross-examination. They came in at a time that members of the public wouldn't be allowed to come in and out. Could you ask them to stop doing that? And Todd Blanche, for his part, said, 1, I don't control these people. 2, they're members of the public. Let's accept his first proposition that Todd Blanche, as a member of the legal team, doesn't control them. The proposition that they are members of the public is simply belied by what we can see. They do not come in the same public courthouse entry that Andrew and Kyle and I come in every day. From what we can tell, they are transported with the former president. They are admitted into his bubble by the Secret Service. Whether they undergo additional security at that back entrance to the courthouse from which Trump enters is not clear to us. But what I can tell you is this. They enter the courthouse through the president's holding room, which we understand is an additional courtroom that's been cleared. They come out with him as he makes his statements to the press in the hallway, and then they enter the courtroom with him in this bizarre procession that almost resembles a militaristic parade. It's a long line, almost in hierarchical order of importance, of who comes in with him: the legal team, the aides, members of Congress, etc. To call them members of the public, akin to the guy that you showed on tape earlier who had been waiting in line for hours and hours, that's just simply not an apt or fair comparison. And I want to say one other thing. Matt Gaetz might be making statements that, make our jaws drop, and Donald Trump might be violating the gag order, but some of these people don't have to say a word. And that's because from where they are sitting, each of the witnesses is marched directly in front of the first row of Trump observers. Each side, meaning the prosecution and the defense, has the first 2 rows of the gallery in the courtroom. That means if you're Michael Cohen this morning, who did you walk by? Eric Trump. As you are trying to get into the courtroom to your seat, you're not walking down the center aisle of the courtroom as we see in so many procedural dramas, but rather in a separate entrance designed to maximize your security and your protection from the remainder of the public, given what is going on here and how controversial it is with some members of the public.
We're going to keep talking about this. Andrew Weissman, Lisa Rubin, Kyle Cheney, thank you all.